Hello. Hello and welcome. Welcome to 10 Days of Lightness. My name is Pamela Gerrand, and I'm so grateful to have you joining me today and breathing into this space, this Good Friday, which has so many potent connotations and offerings of traditions, entering into a space of communion with grace, releasing. And coming into this space today on this Good Friday, I felt called to create this 10 days of lightness as an opportunity for us to gather in a space of sanctuary. I'm getting used to looking at the camera. And wherever you are in the world, I welcome you now. Wherever you are in your life, in your journey, in your experience of this uncommon time of intense challenges and turbulence, and also such a potent time of awakening. I welcome you. I welcome you into this space, and it's my intention creating this 10 days of lightness to offer a space of sanctuary, to come together as an antidote to some of the narratives that are in the world right now. And there are many press conferences. My beloved friend Edie Weinstein calls them stress conferences. So there are many ways that messaging is reaching us that is heightening a sense of uncertainty and fear and worry. And my desire with this 10 days of lightness is to, at 11 o'clock every day, if you have time, if you are called to join me, I want to create this space of sanctuary as an offering of ways to help you build your light body, to raise your vibration, to offer practical tools and tips to quiet the mind, to land in your body as a safe space, to activate calm and peace and equanimity, and develop what I call the power pivot. And that is the ability to, with whatever is coming your way, to be able to respond from a 0-point space. And what I mean by that is a place of divine neutrality. It's neither a positive charge nor a negative charge. It's stepping back from common triggers that you might have or responses, and inviting yourself to really build new circuitry at this time. So as someone who has spent 2 decades in spiritual practice, meditation and yoga, I've trained as a sound practitioner. I have taken training with John Kabat-Zinn, who developed the mindfulness, this mindfulness-based stress reduction course, which was a combination of yoga and meditation and a body scan. So I have devoted 20 years to this practice of transformation and learning ways to come back to a place of calm center. So, at this time, it's such a rich time, as well as being a difficult time, a challenging time. I love how so many people are offering what they have to give. And there are so many people that are in deeply stressful places right now, frontline healthcare workers, store clerks, anyone who has to be in the public right now at the front line of this time that we're in. And for those of us who have been asked to stay home, this can also be deeply challenging because it removes everything that we have known to be our daily routines, our comforts. We also cannot be distracted from the difficult emotions that arise. We can't run away from them. There's no turning from them. So what I am offering with this 10 Days of Lightness is an opportunity to be with whatever is arising. And it is 11:11, keeping my eye on the clock. What I have created for us is a 10 Days of Lightness prayer for personal and planetary peace and grace. So 11:11, for those of you that aren't aware of numerology and number sequencing, 2 11s side by side create a gateway for our thoughts. And what it speaks to is that we are manifestational beings. Thought becomes word, becomes deed. And as we think, so we become. And right now, it's so important to hold our thoughts in the highest place of what we wish to manifest. So I just looked at my clock. It is 11:11. So at this time of wishing to manifest for all humanity a deeper anchoring and activating of peace and grace, I offer to you this 10 days prayer, lightness prayer for peace and grace. So if you will with me, if you wish to close your eyes gently, or if you wish to have them softly open, it's truly up to you. I offer this to you, my divine beloveds who are with me now and who will be coming to this later. Divine beloved, bless me and my family with grace. May all of humanity be uplifted and be safe. In this time of groundlessness, I give you my fear, my worry, my pain. Wrap me in the light of love and peace, that I may quietly and patiently blossom and emerge from this cocoon of transformation that I find myself in right now. I am safe. I am protected. I trust in the unfolding. I hold myself in tender compassion and allow all that arises in me to be met by the light of understanding. I allow myself to feel it all. Feel it all. Empty me of the fear of what may come. Fill me with the light of the sun. Show me how to surrender to the dark, like the spring seeds in the earth. Shower us in the light of grace. Bathe us in the waters of calm. Hold us in the arms of peace. May all of humanity be held in grace. Thank you. Aho. And so it is. Take a moment to breathe in that prayer for peace, that decree of divinity, anchoring into your life stream, into your body, temple, present here and now, clearing away anything and everything that you wish to release. Into this space, this sacred space that we're creating together, I seeing this as a virtual workshop, a virtual sacred ceremony. It is a community, global community experience together where we open our hearts together. And I say borrow from, and also deeply and gratefully embody the traditions from the indigenous nations who ask the smoke people to release anything from us now. And so I have lit Palo Santo, which is sacred wood from South America that has the most beautiful fragrance. So let's come into our multidimensionality now, where you can imagine the fragrance of this Palo Santo and see on the sacred smoke, I am clearing one to the one in my space, clearing for you anything from my eyes that I may see with clear sight, from my lips that I may speak from compassion and kindness, also from my throat gate, that what I receive and transmit is from the highest, for the highest good of all. I clear my heart space. I clear my heart space of all of the heaviness, the weight of grief, the sadness that I feel as an empath, as a deeply feeling being, for there is much that is swirling in the field right now that is heavy and hard. There is much grief, there is much loss, there is much anticipatory grief. Many who fear what they may lose, their dear ones. And as we all contemplate this space in our hearts, holding deep compassion and love, unconditional love in this heart space, we open wider. Yes, we say, I will not close down in this fear. I will not close the gates of my heart to myself, to my family members, to any others. For it is a time right now, as I move down to the solar plexus of our power space, between our solar plexus and our hearts, as we are feeling this power center challenged. For many who are isolated and alone, it is deeply challenging to be in this time of isolation. For there is the long hours that stretch before us, and there is the deep silence to fill. And in this isolation, we wish there was someone that could join us. And for those of us that are in the family realm of small children or elders or just a partner that we're with and sequestered with, there can also be deep challenges in this power center in our solar plexus where we are triggered because we're simply irritated by being in each other's face all the time, in each other's presence. And so there are very real challenges that are arising right now. And so we ask, Divine Beloved, please help us to keep our heart open. Help us to keep our heart open to the space of grace and to step back when we are irritated, challenged, or triggered. And find a deeper space in those times to simply walk away, not engage, not create more tension and conflict. And I honor everyone who is either dwelling in the silence and isolation alone or navigating family challenges, navigating being in this lockdown situation for long periods of time. I honor you. And as we go down to the sacral chakra and the root chakra, what I'm thinking of is this time where we emulate trees the roots of the trees that go down into the earth. And in a time of drought, trees naturally conserve. They conserve energy, and trees naturally have a root system that begins to do a deeper search for the groundwater. The roots go deeper and wider. And so right now we are being called in this planetary time of isolation and drought to conserve our energy, to not allow the mainstream news or ways that we are challenged by others or even our own thoughts to drain us and deplete us of the energy that we already have within us. And to allow that root system that we have, that ability to allow our energy to search for that which will bring us calm, stability, to create our own sanctuary. Imagine that you have this beautiful intuitive root system that in this time of lockdown, of let's call it the drought, of planetary, the shift that we're in, that our root systems are intuitively seeking a deeper groundwater, a deeper grace in this groundlessness. So for many, many years, I belonged to a beautiful meditation group. We gathered for 7 years every Sunday night, and it was a time of such deep growth and learning being a part of this meditation group. And for me, what it gave me was relief from years of insomnia and a very active mind. In the teachings of Ayurveda, there are 3 doshas, and I may go into deeper teachings about this Ayurveda, but suffice it to say that I learned through my teachings of my classes in Ayurveda that I have the dosha of, the predominant dosha is Vata, which is the wind. So I tend to have a very active, quick mind, and it's exacerbated by more thought. When you think of the wind coming to you, and we need to build this place of stability and strength, but my natural tendency is to be very active in my body. I have a lot of energy, I have a lot of activity in my mind, and for my particular dosha, the Vata dosha, to ameliorate the busyness and the activity of the mind, for me, meditation was the most powerful gift because it taught me, it gave me the ability to sit, to be with my thoughts. And in the practice of meditating and closing my eyes and simply allowing all of that busy mind to come, over time, I learned and I cultivated within this meditation practice a different circuitry. It literally changed my body, my mind, and many of you are meditators. I'm sure many of you may even have a practice. And for those of you who are new to meditation or who've perhaps practiced it, dipped a toe in the water, but perhaps you have found it to be difficult, challenging, or it just wasn't for you, I want to offer you what was the entry point for me that really helped me. Because I did begin with just following my breath. I did begin with, meditating on a candle flame, and those are all good ways to meditate. But in our meditation group, we followed the teachings of Sri Eknath Eshwaran, who was a teacher originally from India, who came to America in the 60s on a Fulbright scholarship and was a teacher of English and a scholar of literature. So he was teaching English literature at Berkeley College, and at lunchtime in the 60s started offering meditation. And it was the 60s, so there were a lot of people who were digging this, really wanting to pick up what he was offering. And so Sri Eknath Eshwaran began offering these lunchtime 15-20-minute meditation gatherings. And this evolved into a half hour in this lunchroom that started with 5 or 6 people. And he said that over time, more and more people were hungry for what he had to offer. And this lunchroom filled with all of these students who wanted to find a way out of the prison of their mind, out of the anguish, of the pain, of these looping thoughts of shame, of guilt, of self-doubt, of low self-worth, of all of the ways that we have these thoughts that come, where do they come from? And so we followed the teachings of Sri Eknath Eshwaran, and his meditation teaching began with having anyone who wanted to meditate with him by memorizing the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi. And it's a great mastery tool because the essence of the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi is healing the polarity within us. It is the meeting the dance of duality with the higher perspective of coming to the place where we hold all of that which anchors us, shackles us in our humanness, in our, I'll say in our lower self, the egoic self, and bringing in the light of the divine that says, I will meet you in your human self with all of these traps and foibles and places, these holes that you fall in as you walk. You fall into your fear, you trip on your shame, you feel bound by grief and sadness, and you do not know a way out of this. And with the St. Francis prayer, we find a way out of duality. We find a gateway beyond. So I'm sure many of you know this prayer, and I offer it into this first gathering of the 10 Days of Lightness exactly for this, because we are entering, and for many people are already on this beautiful ascension timeline where we are moving beyond duality and being chained to these belief systems and ways of being that have held us. So as we move into this ascension timeline, we simply allow the mind to soften. We allow old beliefs and concepts to have no hold on us. We hold them lightly. And what we invite in is a greater embodiment of all of the higher principles that Francis speaks to. And Sri Eknath Eshwaran, who was our meditation teacher those Sunday nights, likened it to digging one deep hole. He says that when we meditate, it is as though we are taking the hammer of our awareness and continuing to tap and pound through the crust of our ignorance, through the layer of our own blindness and ways that we have been locked in our pain, in our shame, in our guilt, in our fear. And as we tap and we pound and we open to this deeper way of being, we allow the light of divinity to pour through us. We open this vibrant vessel that we are. And he also said that when we meditate on the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi, we are bringing into our conscious awareness these word pearls that were fashioned from the mind of the divine, that came through St. Francis. And as we memorize them and hold them in our mind and drop them into our heart space, allow them to drop like drops of a fragrant perfume, or think of it as this holy oil that we are dropping into the waters of our consciousness. We are penetrating the darkness. We are penetrating the darkness of our fear with the light of love, of divine love. We are penetrating the darkness of our grief with the grace that lifts us beyond it. So many of you, I'm sure, know this prayer. And for those of you who do not, I invite you can Google it, copy it out, and I'm inviting you today to memorize it and begin a meditation practice where you allow this prayer to drop into your awareness and penetrate the darkness with the light of these words. Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be loved as to love, to be understood as to understand. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. It is in dying to self that we are born to eternal life. So this is a prayer that offers us a bridge to step onto, to move beyond duality, and to anchor within us the agency of not looking outside of ourselves to be consoled, to be understood, to be loved, but to come into that space in our own heart where we find that well of infinite love, infinite understanding, that light of grace that holds the consolation of the Great Mother herself. For in that place of agency within ourselves where we build and grow and activate and amplify that knowing within ourselves that we are this light, then we're not looking outside of ourselves. We're not saying, I'm so alone, I'm so lonely, or this person isn't giving me, or that person doesn't understand me. Our true point of power is understanding, firstly, that we are one, and that everyone outside of us is a mirror of us, and that we actually keep ourselves in the prison of wanting and desiring and hurting when we keep looking outside of ourselves for that person to love us, to give us something. And in St. Francis's prayer, he says, no, go within. Grant that I may not so much seek to love as to be the love. It is in giving that we receive. So in this giving to yourself, this deep forgiveness, this deep shower of presence, of compassion, of kindness, of self-love. And I'm feeling guided to also say right now that this is a deeply challenging time. So give yourself a break. The piece that really keeps arising again and again is we have been given a shift, an opportunity, yes, to reflect, to develop deeper awareness and understanding. But it is not a time to shift all of our, our outward doing and achieving. And we've been taken out of the daily round of jobs and roles. So don't fall into the trap right now of feeling like you have to accomplish a lot, or, all of these invitations to whatever it is, fill in the blank, the pressure to do something to fill this time, or to achieve something, accomplish something, whatever that might be. Because what this time is an invitation to be is so fully accepting that you are enough, just as you are. And we are so uncomfortable with that, not giving, not creating, not accomplishing. You can't tick off all the boxes, you didn't do the 9 to 5 or whatever that is. It can be so deeply disconcerting just to be alone with ourselves and to meet that deep place of discomfort where we don't feel enough, where we feel the fear arising in us of this existential angst of this time of the great open-ended question. So my invitation is to not give yourself more shame, more guilt for what you're not doing. I will also even say, I invite you to take off the table anything that's arising in you in this different timeline, different routine. Be okay with resting more. In fact, delight in it. Be okay with sleeping more. And I'm not saying you want to become a sloth and totally give over and just be on the couch. No. I am saying, it's funny, I said recently on Facebook, we're all as humanity getting our PhD right now. Patience, humility, and discernment. So I say this time is so humbling because we've literally, all of our usual ways of being have been taken, away from us. All of these coordinates that we know to be the framework are gone. So it's incredibly humbling to be in this place. So we are being asked to develop a huge amount of patience. And I think that one of the biggest pieces is the discernment. So yes, rest more, but don't rest, with any feeling of I should be doing something else, or, I invite you to welcome this time of greater rest for the body and the mind, because we know that the world has been spinning at a pace that it cannot continue to spin at. So many of us have felt burnt out over the years. So many people have had issues with their thyroid, adrenal glands, adrenal burnout, just because we have pushed and pushed and pushed. So this is the time for us to release this pushing and to come into a deeper rhythm with ourselves. And within this rhythm of these 10 days of lightness, today is kind of a welcome and introduction and inviting us to give ourselves this space of grace and to allow ourselves to create a sanctuary for activating this deep peace within us, and to make our health, our happiness, our resilience, and our radiance a high priority. So in the next 10 days, meet me here, because I want to share with you, and I'm going to be sharing with you, many practical ways to move beyond the concept of how do I quiet my mind, beyond the idea of I'd like to feel peaceful, but how do I actually do that? So I'm going to be sharing with you pranayama, which are yoga breathwork practices that balance the right and left hemispheres of the brain, that help us release so much of this stress, so much of the adrenaline and the cortisol that pumps through our body when we are in this feeling of fight or flight with no release for it. So we're going to be doing some yoga pranayama breath practices that are very simple for beginners and advanced yoginis alike. Some sound healing practices. I want to be sharing with you some of the things that have helped me through this time, and I'm actually going to be adding, when I post this video later, I'm going to include links for some practices that I've been doing, this beautiful Awakening the Soul seated Qigong practice. I'm going to be including links to books and some meditations that I use, some that are mine, some that are others, but so that you can build what I'm calling resources of resilience, so that you can have a place to come back when you feel triggered, when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel exhausted, when you feel sad, when you feel the bottom is just going and you go, and really, you are going to be okay. We are going to be okay. What we are being invited into at this time on planet Earth is an awakening of mythic proportions, because we are all being asked to cultivate and co-create on this planet what matters most. And love comes to me always. Love is first and foremost. What does love look like to you? Love looks like that patience, loving your partner when they're triggering you, when they're just irritating you in this time of being together a lot. Love looks like and feels like the ability to be with the deepest discomfort that arises, that ability to breathe and step back, and to parent your thoughts well, and to parent yourself and your family well by not falling into the trap of frustration and acting out and contributing to the tension and conflict and the battle on the planet right now. Goodness knows there's enough of that out there. No, the 10 days of lightness that we are in together is to co-create and cultivate within each one of us, starting with our own hearts, our own minds, is this resourcefulness of resilience, this space, this sanctuary to come back to. Because just as I began in my meditation group over 15 years ago, having all sorts of ways that I experienced my own tension, my own discomfort, my own human foibles, as I said, I was an overthinker, and that overthinking led me to having times of insomnia since I was a teenager. When I began this practice of meditation and going within, I began to experience an ability to be with, to literally rest well at night, to eat food and digest it without discomfort, to allow my body to become this amazing temple and alchemic vehicle that is able to digest and alchemize whatever is coming and turn this darkness that we feel by way of tension or toxicity into light, into being okay, into being better than okay. So I'm going to be sharing with you this week some of the resources that I've been using, including Richard Rudd's incredible book, The Gene Keys. And another one of these days, we'll go a little bit deeper into the Gene Keys and how you can download your own holographic personal profile. I'm finding there are so many resources in the world right now for us to cultivate this peace and calm, and resources, as I say, for resilience and radiance. I get a daily email from a dear friend. Every day at 6 a.m. she sends a writing and a photograph that is so nourishing, and she has for years. Many of you have heard this acronym for fear. Fear is false evidence appearing real. Today she posted the acronym for RAIN. RAIN is an easy to remember tool for practicing mindfulness and compassion using the following 4 steps. R, recognize what is happening. A, allow the experience to be there just as it is. I, investigate with interest and care. And N, nurture or nourish with self-compassion. So this reign of allowing, investigating, or just being curious to what is arising, and nurturing and nourishing ourselves with self-compassion. Whenever we feel that fear, that false evidence appearing real, triggering us, activating all of those fight and flight hormones that send a flood through our body that literally create toxicity and lower our immunity, we can counter that with this RAIN. Recognize, allow whatever is arising to just be there, just meet it. Don't need to judge it, don't need to make it all right. But as we just allow it to arise and meet it with our awareness, our allowing, and if we can move into acceptance and embracing it with love, then it begins to dissipate and not have as much of a charge over us. Because what we resist, we grow. So then what is the I? Investigate it with interest and care. And that's where I say, hold everything lightly. So as you investigate this feeling or emotion or situation that may arise within you, hold it lightly. Don't let it grip you. Don't let it take you to a bunch of other thoughts that take you spinning. Hold it lightly. And then the N of the RAIN, to nourish yourself and nurture yourself. I think the biggest invitation for us right now is to love ourselves and nurture ourselves and mother ourselves in a time, especially for people that are alone and are missing touch. You know, I'm doing this very intuitively, to hug myself and rock. This can be a comforting thing to do. Just to hold yourself and rock yourself. Just to take yourself into your own embrace with whatever is arising. And this week, I came back to a song that I wrote a few years ago, and it's interesting because I went back to it recently and I realized that very much was a song written for these times. Oh, and I'm sitting cross-legged. My legs are going numb, so I'm just going to stretch out. You know, right now, this time that we're in, it's such an invitation to listen so deeply to the messages of our body and what feels comfortable and what doesn't, and to really grow the power of our intuitive capacities. Because the gift of being isolated, the gift of stepping back, is actually giving us the gift of space, time, and permission to drop in. And you know, it's been said that kids in our world right now are so tied in and attached to devices and screens in ways that they are just constantly 24/7. There's a focus outside of them, and generally something that has shifting images and such short attention spans. And there is something to be said for the gift of boredom. And the gift of boredom is simply giving yourself the time, the space to not be distracted, to not have an outward focus, and to drop in to what might be wanting to be birthed through you, to be created through you. This is our direct line to our creativity, to the muse. Honestly, more poems and songs have come to me walking in the forest, after I've spent time in meditation, also in the tub, in the water. When we are relaxed, we contact our genius. There was actually a mentor of mine that had written that out as an equation, as a kind of palindrome. Relaxation equals genius. And then they flipped it around. Genius equals relaxation. So to befriend this openness, to befriend this boredom, I'm going to call it boredom. We often equate boredom with being something we avoid, we hate, we don't want to be bored. But I'm going to say that the gift of boredom is the gift of that completely open canvas. The gift of allowing ourselves to relax in to the space, the spaciousness of whatever is in that moment, trying to catch your attention, whatever sparks of creativity might be. I often feel like my creativity is like this amazing cloud above my head. It's like all of these great ideas, Oprah calls it the aha moment. Guess what? We all have this. We all have the ability to tune in to this amazing muse that wants to gift you with melodies and shapes and colors and words and this beauty, to shower you in harmony and beauty and grace. So as we follow this beautiful equation that I said this mentor gave me, relaxation equals genius. Flip it around. Genius equals relaxation. So when it comes right down to it, this gift of time we have right now, this opportunity to be with ourselves, our higher selves, the magic of our muse, to tap into this amazing cloud that our higher self, our muse, that the divine, is always circulating in this field of pure potential. It's when we are relaxed that we can tap into that radiance and receive it. And I say receive it with so much flow and ease that you will laugh, you will giggle, you will have this inner smile. I often feel that when I'm creating. It's like, wow, where is this coming from? Who is this? And you know what? We don't need to know where it's coming from. We don't need to know the why. We don't need to know the where or the how. We just need to open to receive it. So I want to close today's 10 Days of Lightness with a song that came to me a few years ago that I really feel like is for these times. Because we may feel that we are these two-leggeds on the earth, and we are, but we are really divine beings who have chosen this earth suit, this skin and bone, flesh, avatar that we have created uniquely, each one of us. Each one of us here as a note in this symphony of transformation. I will leave you with this song, the pearly gates of song, because you are an angel in disguise. And it's time for us to come out, to rise up, to fully show the light of who we are. Because each one of us is needed for this glorious symphony of transformation. Won't you come with me to the pearly gates of song, where you don't have to die to feel like you belong? For the company of heaven is a chorus here on earth, each soul with a note to play in this symphony of birth. Welcome to the new earth. And we sing of our deception, and we sing of our disgrace. Centuries of war and greed, the land that we've laid waste. But our mother, she forgives us, and her wisdom falls like rain. The winds are blowing stronger now, these are the winds of change. Welcome, the winds of change. We are angels in disguise, starlight falling from your eyes, reaching upward through the night. One by one we find the light. Can you hear the love that's calling? The old is giving way. The orchestra is everything, and we have come to play. For the company of heaven is a chorus sweet and strong, each soul with a note to play, here where we belong. At the pearly gates of song. Feel that. Feel that in your heart. Feel that all the way down from the soles of your feet, growing these new roots, reaching deep and wide. Feel that energy going all the way up from Mother Earth through your body up through the top of your head into the heavens. Feel how needed you are right now on planet Earth. Feel that you are an angel in disguise. I see you. I hear you. I love you. We are rising in resilience. And so it is. Aho, miigwech. For you, me, and all our relations, may we be strong and well and wise in these transformational times. Until we meet again, be well. And I will be back here tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for our second day, creating sanctuary in the 10 days of lightness. Thank you.